This Family Life News podcast is made possible by the support of listeners like you.
Next on the 5 o'clock report.
Pay tribute to a man who embodied the heart and soul and spirit of our country.
It goes from kind of fun to be out in to almost unbearable.
I think if they would have waited another 24 hours, we'd be dealing with multiple deaths.
Now, let's go to the newsroom.
President Trump visits the library. Good afternoon. Thank you very much for joining us. I'm Mark Webster. He didn't need a library card either, just a ride to North Dakota on the new Air Force One. President Donald Trump on hand to dedicate the new Teddy Roosevelt Presidential Library.
Today we come to the heartland of America to pay tribute to a man who embodied the heart and soul and fight and spirit of our country as much as anyone who ever lived. He's a very special man, and that's why I'm here. President Theodore Roosevelt. He was really quite something.
About that new presidential plane, a controversial gift from the nation of Qatar. Trump says,
frankly, we couldn't build a plane like this because we wouldn't be willing to spend the kind of money necessary. They spent top dollars.
The Air Force has been modifying the new jet since September to meet security, communications, and other needs to transport the president.
ABC's Karen Travers. Trump also defending his accumulation of personal wealth while in the White House, which a new report pegs at more than $1 billion, much of it from cryptocurrency investments. Now to the Middle East, where Trump says talks with Iran continue to show progress. U.S. Special Envoy Steve Witkoff and Trump's son-in-law Jared Kushner in Qatar for peace negotiations with Iran. Though they are not speaking directly with Iranians, Nick Harper says instead they're meeting with Pakistani and Qatari mediators.
So far, Iran is very much taking a hands-off approach and saying that it will not engage in direct negotiations, and that's why we've got the Qataris as the mediators in between. But of course, that in itself will slow up any real progress that they hope to achieve during these 60 days.
A spokesman for Qatar's foreign ministry says no direct talks between the U.S. and Iran are scheduled currently. Well, next to the week-long heat wave, just how hot is it? That's the sound of the Buffalo fireboat Edward M. Cotter spraying down the Michigan Avenue lift bridge in Buffalo because the heat got so tough that it jammed the bridge from even opening. Well over 100 million people in several states are doing their best to keep cool any way they can.
It goes from kind of fun to be out in to almost unbearable. Like you really have to take a lot of breaks at that point.
Stay hydrated. That is the number one thing.
It's going to be suffocating.
Municipalities across New York and PA have opened cooling centers to try to keep people safe. Pete Guzzetti with the State Office of Emergency Management in New York.
We have reached out to all of our county partners in coordination with State Department of Health to make sure cooling centers are active and all of the information about them is updated. The State Department of Health does maintain a statewide website that gives you information about cooling centers in your neighborhood.
Well, any relief in sight? We'll find out. We'll check in with meteorologist Kevin Williams during this newscast. It probably won't make it to our region, but hazy skies over several states right now are due in part to dust from the Sahara.
Basically, it's just an area of dust that blows off the African continent, blows all the way across the Atlantic Ocean with the prevailing winds aloft, and then usually it's over the tropics, but sometimes it gets carried further northward. The sunrises and sunsets will be kind of hazy. It's very similar to what we talk about when we see a wildfire smoke drift overhead.
National Weather Service meteorologist Andrew Ansorgi. Sometimes the dust can trigger air quality issues, but on the plus side, it also can suppress hurricane formation. Next to Ohio, where 16 children have been rescued from a home in southern Ohio, where authorities say they were living in deplorable conditions. They raided a home in the town of Hamden, not far from Cincinnati, on Tuesday, and removed all 16 kids with various medical issues. Ohio's Attorney General Andy Wilson says authorities got there just in time.
I think if they would have waited another 24 hours, there was a very high probability that we'd be dealing with a death or multiple deaths.
The county sheriff described the scene as horrific. Members of Charlie Kirk's family headed to Utah next week, where they'll attend a court hearing for the man accused of killing the conservative activist.
Charlie Kirk's widow, Erica, and his parents will be in 4th Judicial District Court in Provo, Utah, for a preliminary hearing next week in the murder trial of Tyler Robinson. Robinson is accused of shooting and killing Kirk last September during an event on the campus of Utah Valley University. Security at the courthouse will be extremely high for a hearing that is expected to last several days. I'm Rory O'Neill.
And to the Big Apple, where there was a big kerfuffle at the Empire State Building today as a daredevil couple climbed right up to the spire atop the famed skyscraper, flying a large love-themed banner, then seemingly conducting a marriage proposal on the way back down. Police probably won't be invited to the wedding.
It is incredibly dangerous. It is likely a criminal trespassing situation. The NYPD is looking at the same images that we are, showing two people unfurling a banner at the top of the Empire State Building at a time when the NYPD has just started working 12-hour shifts and trying to blanket the city in security in anticipation of all the events tied to the 4th of July.
ABC's Aaron Katersky. Still to come here on the 5 o'clock report, a recap of our top regional stories, highlights from today's Inside Out feature with our Martha Manikas-Foster, and a tribute to the chicken wing. All coming up after Weather with Kevin.
I'm Kevin Williams, and here is your Family Life regional weather forecast. Well, we've been roasting weather-wise of late, and it looks like another sultry and stuffy night ahead tonight, and another blazingly hot, humid day tomorrow. Later in the week, the arrival of a front will spell a couple of showers and storms, and some modest heat and humidity relief this Independence Day weekend, but with some scattered showers and storms. So the call for tonight, there will be a thunderstorm or shower in some areas, especially western central New York and northeast Pennsylvania. But overall, it'll just turn out to be a moonlit, muggy night. Low temps 70s. Tomorrow, intensely hot, humid, mainly sunny. High temperatures well into the 90s. Friday, steamy, partial sunshine. Couple of thunderstorms arriving with high temperatures in the upper 80s and 90s.
Thank you, Kevin. Now checking the stories making news where you live across New York and Pennsylvania. Got some travel plans this big weekend. AAA out with some tips on how to get more bang for your gas buck this holiday weekend. Spokeswoman Valerie Puma says it starts by having properly inflated tires and sticking to the speed limit. She suggests setting your car on cruise. And here's some more helpful tips.
Mapping out your route before leaving. Avoid backtracking, adding those unnecessary miles to your trip. Even those small detours can really add up pretty quickly when these gas prices are so high.
Puma also says if you can lighten the load a bit, that helps.
Removing those unnecessary items from your trunk or cargo area can make a noticeable difference.
A record 72.2 million Americans are going to travel at least 50 miles from home for the Independence Day holiday. For the 5th year in a row, Pennsylvania politicians missing a deadline for an on-time budget. The spending plan bogged down over issues like recreational marijuana, skill games, and the ongoing debate over the minimum wage. Democrat Jordan Harris.
And so today I ask my Senate Republican colleagues, when it comes to the minimum wage, show me what you got. Because the people of Pennsylvania have waited long enough.
Republicans argue raising that wage will hurt the very people it's intended to help because it'll force companies to lay off workers and raise prices. It's been 20 years since Pennsylvania hiked its minimum wage, currently sitting at $7.25 an hour. An investigation underway following a house explosion in Bucks County, Pennsylvania yesterday that sent one man to the hospital with burns. Neighbor Stephen Kendra describes that blast.
It was mind-blowingly loud, and I guess it's insulation of some kind that blew up into the sky as far as I could see, and it rained this white powdery stuff for about 15 minutes.
Judy Kendra says it was intense.
It was just a huge boom, and it rocked the whole house. I thought our house blew up.
Hilltown Township Police Chief Christopher Engelhardt says investigators are still looking for the exact cause.
There's no natural gas lines in the road, but there was a propane tank on site.
And that propane tank is a focus of that investigation. Pennsylvania Congresswoman Chrissy Houlihan is calling for the federal government to reinstate a flu vaccine mandate for the military. This following a flu outbreak at a base in Texas. The Chester County Democrat and former Air Force officer says the outbreak at Lackland Air Force Base shows why that vaccine mandate is necessary. And whoa, baby, what a big baby born in Western New York. A West Seneca, New York mom recently giving birth to the largest baby ever born at Golisano Children's Hospital.
She had a fan club from day one. She just brought a little bit of magic to labor and delivery that day.
Both mom and dad say they couldn't believe it when the doctor told them their baby girl tipped the scales at just over 14 pounds.
I couldn't believe it. I was like, what?
Yeah.
What did she just say?
I could not believe the amount of human that came out of another human.
Yamaya Soto Rodriguez came into the world on June 9th, 14 pounds and an ounce, delivered by C-section, thankfully, and left the hospital wearing clothes that are normally worn by a 6-month-old.
People can't believe it. Like when we're out, they're like, oh my, your baby's so cute. How old is she? And I was like, she's like 2 weeks. And they're like, what?
Babies that big are pretty rare, less than 1 out of every 1,000 deliveries, but both mom and baby are doing just fine. Up next, highlights from today's Inside Out feature. Our Martha Manikas Foster speaks with counseling pastor and author Timothy St. John from Lighthouse Community Church in Torrance, California. He's written a new book entitled After Church Hurt. He acknowledges the unique pain of being hurt by your church and offers some practical help and hope and guides leaders toward healthier church cultures.
The way I define church hurt in the book is any unrepentant sin that is minimized, normalized, or promoted by a church culture and its leadership. And I say church culture and its leadership because if either of those, the leader or the church body, was willing to address the wrong, there could be a path of healing within the church. Right? Someone could say, hey, this happened to me. I can raise my hand and I can get help, and there can be a way forward. But what's so unique, I think, about church hurt is when people are sinned against, and that sin, it is normalized, it's protected. People say, oh, that's just his personality. Rather than actually saying, you know, that is wrong, and Scripture says it's wrong, let's address it. It's minimized. In those kinds of settings, it's like you can't go to that next step in Matthew 18. There's no one to bring with you. And so there's these layers and these waves of pain that come, not only from the direct wound from being sinned against, but the fact that it's not addressed. And in the end, you end up really losing your community, and you're in a place of, honestly, deep despair and confusion.
What have you seen as the ramifications when the hurt or abuse in a person's life comes from a place, you know, intended to be a pathway of God's grace? What are the ways that God becomes distorted for the person who's been hurt?
Whenever sin is committed in an unrepentant way in a spiritual environment, like a pathway of grace has turned into a pathway of pain and harm, then all sorts of painful emotions come up. Confusion, anger, grief, despair, shame would be another one, a major one, anxiety. So what can often happen is people become not only angry at the person who wronged them in the way that they were allowed to sin against them, but that person, let's say it's a pastor, that pastor is really like an ambassador from a country. And so I'm looking at it and I'm thinking, is this what this country is like? And Paul writes, we are ambassadors for Christ. And so if you have a community of people who are supposed to be ambassadors for Christ, all kind of protecting sin and silencing you or blaming you, and the pastor is doing it too, it can really feel like, wait, who is God really? People are not just watching our teaching, they're watching how we live our lives, how we conduct ourselves. And they're assuming that this is what life looks like when it's following Christ. And so it's very disorienting. I could begin to talk about the path of healing, but it really is going to have to start in some way with someone who does represent Christ well, coming alongside that person and showing them, embodying the love of Christ, the heart of Christ. It's going to involve someone really who can reverse the impression over time, slowly, give them a new impression of this is who Christ truly is. I can give you a dynamic where you are honored and where your feet are washed and where you are loved.
Highlights from today's Inside Out feature. You can hear the entire feature and all of our Family Life original news features at Apple Podcast, YouTube, Spotify, and FamilyLife.org. This is the 5 o'clock report on Family Life.
Big financial decisions are too important to make alone. Hi, I'm Rob West with today's Faith and Finance Minute. Proverbs 12:15 says, "The way of a fool is right in his own eyes, but a wise man listens to advice." That's a much-needed reminder when we're making decisions about a home, career, retirement, debt, or helping family. Scripture shows the danger of ignoring counsel. In 1 Kings 12, Rehoboam rejected the wisdom of older advisors and listened instead to voices that echoed his pride. The result was disastrous. 10 tribes broke away and the kingdom was divided. Wise counsel doesn't simply echo our preferences. It helps us see what we might overlook. Don't assume asking for help is a weakness. Often it's one of the strongest acts of stewardship you can make. We can help you learn to manage your money according to biblical principles when you download the free FaithFi app. You'll find it on our website at faithfi.com.
Thank you, Mr. West. Finally at 5.
Ta-da! I call them chicken wings!
We just call them tasty. Happy International Chicken Wing Day. As most in Western New York already know, they're also called buffalo wings for a reason. The delicacy's invention credited to Buffalo's Anchor Bar. Story goes that late one night in 1964, John Young, son of the founder, needed something to feed his friends, and he hit upon air frying some chicken wings, normally reserved for soup stock, and then mixed them up with the sauce he created, and he had a hit on his hands. In 1977, Buffalo's mayor declared July 1st to be International Chicken Wing Day. Hot, medium, or mild, America loves its wings, eating an estimated 25 billion a year, big at the Super Bowl, often with a side of celery or carrot sticks and dressing. Many use ranch, but, well, a purist will cringe at the mere thought, insisting that their wings come with blue cheese dressing or nothing at all. That's the world we live in for Wednesday, July 1st, 2026. Thanks again for joining us. I'm Mark Webster, Family Life News.
Thank you for listening to this Family Life News podcast. If you've been encouraged by what you've heard, please share it with others and click the subscribe button to automatically receive future episodes. Family Life is a listener-supported ministry. Podcasts like this are made possible by your financial partnership. Find out more at familylife.org.